backstage. Folks, welcome to the Berks County Patriots Candidates Night. I'm not sure what happened to our crowd tonight. It's certainly not cold outside. Hopefully we get some others come shortly. We will start with the program shortly. We need to do some housekeeping first. I do want to tell you, those of you that will be speaking tonight, please adhere to your allotted time. We are on a very, very tight schedule. I'm sure you're going to hear that again. We're going to start out with Carol Gardecki. She will talk a little bit about the Constitution class that she runs. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. My next Constitution class meets on May 9th at Harvest Church in Fleetwood. We meet twice. We meet at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock. You can attend either one. Tonight I wanted to say a few words about the Supreme Court. As you probably are aware, Mr. Trump got his candidate, Mr. Gorsuch, okay, and he is now on the Supreme Court. So now we can relax, right? No.
Quiet in the back, please. Quiet in the back.
We can't relax because the court's just now back to the balance that we had before. But if one more justice leaves the Supreme Court, we're going to be back where we were before we got Mr. Gorsuch. Especially if we lose one of the conservative judges. If we lose a conservative judge, we're back right where we were. If we lose a liberal judge, and Trump gets to okay another judge, we're in better shape. But we can't relax, because it's still just a 5-4 on almost every important decision. And I don't know if everybody noticed, but he already got to take part in a really important decision. He decided that they will not teach Islam in the public schools. I don't know how many of you know that was going on. Many of our schools have been teaching Islam. I have a good friend, I hope she doesn't mind I share this. She does substitute teaching, and one school she went to had an art project, and guess what it was? They were making prayer runs. So we don't want this in our schools. We are a Judeo-Christian country. We're not an Islamic country. And so that was an important decision. They did decide that Islam cannot be taught in schools. So I was very happy to see that. Anyway, just keep it in mind, we are not out of the woods. We're in good shape right now, but that could change at any time. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol, and congratulations. We're 46 seconds behind. No, just teasing. Folks, on the chairs you will find a flyer, March for Life. I hope you do join the march. Read the information on here. See Helen McFinn. Helen, raise your hand. There's Helen back. Please see her. Okay. Up next, we have Dean Klopp. Dean Klopp is with the Pennsylvania Liberty Alliance. I'm not sure what his position is anymore. He switches around and wears different hats. But what I will tell you, he is, when it comes to square property tax, he is our General George Patton. He's the guy out in the streets. He's the guy right home bar. I know he's going to ask for your help. You helped previously. I see some people in the front row here. I see others who are out there and help. This is a very important battle. We need to win this battle. And folks, Lynn and I did this many times. And it's not hard to do. Actually, it's a lot of fun. and you meet a lot of interesting people, and you educate people, and you feel good about it. Let's all welcome Dean Clark.
Thank you, Dan. How you all doing tonight? I want to thank the Berks Patriots for letting me have a few minutes, and I'm going to try to talk fast and move along here. But just like David Bollinger shared with us last week, you know, the special interests are out in force. They know we had the votes to pass the Senate, and they were pushing back. The word is right now, some people are getting weepy, some people are getting a little hippy, some cold feet, and they're asking the lead Republicans in the Senate not to run the bill. Folks, first thing you need to do when you get home is start sending emails and call it Jake Foreman and tell them we want to run this bill this year. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. We need a vote this year. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do is focus with me a second. If we got some weeping people, we got some people with cold feet. I think it's time to go and put the fear of God back into them and remind them what we did last year up in Harrisburg with Senator Templets. And there's a man by the name of Senator Turncoat Tom McGarrigle. He's one of the guys that flipped. And just to give you a brief history, bring you up to speed on Tom McGarrigle, okay? In the fall of 2014, after we got done driving to Johnstown with Sam and Linda and a bunch of you guys, we were able to flip John Wozniak, and he voted our way. Not once, but twice. Great guy, but he ended up not running again. A new senator is out there. I'll get to that next. But right after that, we started a campaign, a very short campaign in Folsom, Delaware County. And Tom McGarrigle was running, and John King, two guys that had no idea what 76 was about. We held a town hall meeting at the Folsom Fire Company to educate these guys, and both of them immediately got on board. Both of them campaigned for 76. They said they were for property tax elimination, and it ended up Tom McGarrigle won by a very slim margin. He won his election. That's why we think that he's a good target at this point. So, in the spring of 2015, Tom signed on as a sponsor of 76. He wrote letters. We have letters. If you go to our website, PALibertyLines.org, you can see his letter. He sent it out to many people. In June 2015, if any of you guys receive our email, you can also see it on our website. There's a picture with Tom and all the prime sponsors and a couple other sponsors. And he took advantage of that press conference and got his mug in the newspaper that day. On November 18th of that same year, Tom McGarrigle attended a Chamber of Compromise breakfast. I like calling the Chamber of Compromise, not the Chamber of Commerce. And it was 5 days before we had that Senate floor vote on November 23rd. Within hours after that breakfast, he announced that he was pulling off the bill. He told me what's going on. Just last month, Tom said in the Delco Times that SB 76 would destroy education in Pennsylvania. Can you believe that? So now this man is spouting off the same talking points as the Teachers Union, as the School Board Association, as the Pennsylvania Association of School Board Officials, and I'll guarantee you, Gene Barr is sitting behind the curtain laughing his tail off right now. Okay? The special interests are out in force, folks. You know they're holding town hall meetings. We're going to start doing the same. It's time for us to push back, okay? And my effort that I'm leading right now is to go into Delaware County, Tom McGarrigle's district. We're working on a fire hall as far as having a town hall meeting. And actually, we're going to do this over and over and over again. See, Tom is up for election next year, okay? And we feel if he doesn't get on board this year, then we're going to go right after him like we did drop ballots. We're not going to hold back. These guys are going to learn. If they're not going to do the will of the people, then we're going to remove them from office. And we'll come and take them out ourselves. And just for advice, I know there's some school board people are running for school board, and I won't name names, but man, if you win that election, and I hope you guys do that are in this room, but the first thing you need to do when you get elected to the school board and get that school board meeting, you want to push for a resolution telling our state legislators that we want this bill passed, and we want to vote, we're stopping. We don't want to mess around anymore. So I encourage you, as school board candidates, to advocate for 76 during your campaign. So, what are we doing to Tom McGarrigle? Starting next Saturday, April 29th, and 3 other Saturdays, May 13th, May 20th, and June 3rd. We're going to start canvassing Tom McGarrigle's district. Going in the Drexel Hill area. We're going to have a nice little rally out in front of his office. It's right next door to Chicken for Cheese. So if you get hungry, great. It's a great place to get a chicken cheesesteak. So, but some of us are also going to canvass the shopping centers there. There's a post office right next door. People flock to post offices Saturday morning. We're going to canvass there, hand flyers out, and ask people to sign petitions at in the shopping centers. And some of us are going to go door to door. This is suburbia, folks, in Delaware County. There is just house after house after house, and you don't have to walk that far. And we picked some very good areas, some swing districts that we're going into, okay? We're not going into Republican ghettos, we're not going into Democrat ghettos, we're going into swing districts. People that are gonna have a definite influence. So anyway, I have flyers. If you didn't get one, they're back at the table. Of course, if you haven't signed the petition yet, please do so. This is what we go out armed with, folks. A clipboard. I have all the clipboards, all the literature that you need, pens, maps, talking points. We actually have a script that you can go by. But please consider joining us. We're up against the big boys, guys. There's no bigger lobbyists than the ones I just mentioned to you in Pennsylvania. If you cannot help us physically get out and canvass with us, I would ask you to consider a donation. So thank you very much for your time. God bless you. Thank you very much, Sam.
Dean, thank you for all that you do, and so please, we hope that some of you will join Dean these next few Saturdays. Folks, that takes care of our housekeeping. We will go to the main part of our program right now, Candidates Night. I do want to tell you, I do want to thank Rod Miller, Legislative Chairman, also his committee, for all the work that they put into this effort. I heard someone say it's like herding cats. I'm not really sure about that. I'm not a cat person myself, however. That being said, let me introduce Rod Miller, our Legislative Chairman, and we will get this underway. Thank you, Rod.
Okay, good evening, Patriots and candidates. Is it still on? You can turn it off. Okay. Yeah, we don't have time for another minutes tonight. We're going to have to get right to the issues and hopefully try to stay on schedule. If I get right to the point in the races for the judicial openings in Pennsylvania and Berks County, a couple of remarks to put up front. To keep this in mind as you hear what the candidates have to say, and at the Q&A time, if you have questions, I encourage you to ask any questions if you don't feel you heard what you need to hear. But I want to point out, first of all, there's a canon rule regarding candidates running for judge, and it reads, notwithstanding the canon rule of conduct, which is section 5A, which prohibits a candidate from making statements that commits a candidate regarding issues that may come before the court, but has a duty to uphold the law and the Constitution, I added that, regardless of one's personal views. Now, keeping that in mind, when the U.S. Supreme Court, Ninth Circuit, as you recall, the judge made a ruling that the executive order of the president violated his constitutional authority. My opinion of my understanding of the Constitution, it did not. But there's a case where a judge made a ruling, not necessarily of the Constitution, but I asked, was that an opinion that brought that? Similarly, when the U.S. Supreme Court oftentimes has a 4-4 tie in a vote. And now we're encouraged to get a conservative as the 9th judge. If the other candidate for president, I'll leave the name out of it, we know who she is. If she was elected, rest assured, your 9th judge would be a liberal. Having said that, it makes you wonder, are the personal views of a judge paramount to electing or appointing a judge? I just told you in canon rules that says void of personal views when they make a decision based on law and constitution. Okay. I would point out that our founding fathers created a government of 3 equal branches. Judges oftentimes in their pontification make rulings that oftentimes could be viewed as a personal opinion and not, in fact, according to law or the Constitution. So these candidates running for judge this evening, keep that in mind when we hear them talk. I would trust that they're going to be emphasizing the need to adhere to the law and the Constitution, setting aside any of their own personal opinions. On a state level, we have rulings, I'm sure, that are going to have to come up on issues such as property tax, public pensions, legislative pensions. In fact, there was a ruling by the Supreme Court that legislative pensions were constitutional. I can only think they have not read Article 2, Section 8 of the Constitution. But be that as it may, this could come up again. We could go back at this again and argue that pensions for legislators are not constitutional. That is taxpayer finance. They can have all the pension they want. I just don't want to pay for it. On a local level, we're going to have issues again coming up, and we now have 4 candidates tonight. Initially, we only had 3, but all of those issues that will go through the courts again. Locally, I don't know if property tax will be an issue in any one district that will challenge it, or if it's going to be a state issue, but be that as it may, these issues were come across the Court of Common Pleas in Berks County, but especially these other issues go right through Commonwealth Superior Supreme Court. No telling where they'll end up. Okay, format. We have candidates, but we have a candidate, I should say, for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So we have candidates for Superior Court, and we have candidates for Berks County Court. In addition to that, we have candidates for county offices, coroner, treasurer, and the authority. Our goal is to try to finish by owner as close as we can, be finished by 8:30, and hopefully we'll stay pretty much on the schedule. The way I'm going to do this is if it's a surrogate speaking on behalf of a candidate, we're going to give them their 8 minutes, but we won't have Q&A for a surrogate. But the candidates that are here, we're going to give them 8 minutes and hold 2 minutes of each candidate for Q&A. We'll lump the Q&A question time at the end after in the case of 2 candidates speaking on behalf of the Superior Court or for the Berks County Court, we'll get the questions at the end. So, and I'd like the question to be a question, not a statement. And I'd like the questions worded that any of the 3 or 4 candidates could respond. Even if you address it to any one candidate, the others will have the opportunity to likewise answer the question. I'll defer any other comments that I might have, but I will try to monitor the Q&A where a question is asked. If in my judgment it can be answered in 30 seconds, and we have 4 to answer, that's what we like to do in order to get the max amount of questions asked. So we'll try to police the area and try to keep the Q&A dialogue under control. Okay, I want to introduce anybody here that's running for office that is not intended to be a speaker on the agenda, but would like to be acknowledged. All of those folks, if they would like to come up front, and I'll give the opportunity to acknowledge they're here and they're running for public office. And while they're coming forward, whoever they are, I will then get into, in the meantime, introducing our first candidate, which was intended to be a surrogate, or I guess is a surrogate, for Sally Mundy for the Supreme Court. And I have notes, last minute notes, but I think Mary Doyle. Is Mary here? Mary, would you come forward and speak on behalf of Sally Mundy? Okay. While she's doing that, who are the candidates or the people that are running for local offices that would like to be acknowledged? Excuse me? Okay, change of game plan. Jake will now speak on behalf of Sally Mundy, and a surrogate will get 8 minutes. We'll let him talk for 7 if he goes the LA, and at the end of the 7, you'll get a yellow flag. Anybody will get a yellow flag, and then the red flag when you're finished. In the meantime, before we start, here we have local candidates running for other offices, DJs, school boards, and whatever. Let me introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Strand. I'm running for the local magisterial district judge office, which is currently seated by Thomas Walby. He is stepping out and into a seniorship, not rerunning. So that's where I'm running for his seat.
Thank you. My name is Dave Crott. I'm running for 23303 down in Oleanity Township area. Victor Frederick is the presiding judge, and he'll be stepping out. I'm looking to take his seat if that's possible. I appreciate your vote and interest in my campaign. Thank you very much.
I'm Joe Brown. I'm running for District Court 23305, which is District Judge Walby's position. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Donna Reed. This has been an anomaly being up here because I am running for Reading City Council. I am an incumbent. I represent what I consider to be Reading's Great Northwest, which is from the stadium over to the river, part of Charles Evans, and down towards the Center Park area. I'm happy to be a part of a city that's on the rebound. I know a lot of you may be strangers to it and may not come over very often, but I invite you to our city. It's a great place to live, work, and raise a family. So thank you for letting me be here.
Jake, you're on.
I won't quite go anywhere near 8 minutes. So I'm Jake Albright. I work for Sally Mundy. Can you hear me now? My name is Jake Albright. I work for Sally Mundy, who's running for Supreme Court here in Pennsylvania. So Sally was elected in 2009 on the Pennsylvania Superior Court. And after 7 years, she was appointed last summer to fulfill a term when she left on the Supreme Court. So she's running for her first full term now on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So this is some background. She's from Tioga, Pennsylvania. It's way up there on the New York border. But she brings a nice set of rural values to the state Supreme Court, being that 48 of our 67 counties are considered rural. She's the only statewide elected judicial official from North Virginia, so she's pretty good perspective to the Supreme Court. But just as some background on Sally, and kind of what she stands for, the point is she's pro-life, pro-second amendment candidate. In 2009, she was supported or endorsed by the Gay Pro-Life Federation, and she was again here in 2017 endorsed by the Pennsylvania Pro-Life Federation. Again, I said she's a pro-second amendment candidate. Again, where she comes from, Tioga, not only are guns used to feed your family, but they're also used to protect yourselves. And then lastly, and everybody, all the candidates tonight can kind of speak to it, but she's a strict constructionist. At the end of the day, the court's job there is to uphold the laws of the land. We were talking about it here briefly before, but we all know what a liberal activist, judiciary, National Supreme Court, State Supreme Court, we know what they can do with just strike of a pen. So currently the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is at a 5-2 advantage for the Democrats. So there's not too many conservative voices left on that Supreme Court. So it's obviously imperative not only to keep Sally, but moving on down the statewide appellate judges this year, we have seven races up. 2015, I believe we had 5. This year we have one more. We have 7. It's imperative to get your neighbors out, to get your family out, to get your friends out. These are the low energy, so to speak, elections, but at times are often the most important. So I'll kind of end it there. I'll be back at the back table there if you have any questions, and I'll leave it to the other judges here to speak about the candidacy.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Okay, now we're going to go to the Superior Court candidates. We have 2 of them. We have Paul Patrick, a Republican, presently Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas, and was endorsed by the GOP State Committee. Secondly, we have Craig Stedman, again a Republican, Lancaster County DA, again endorsed by the GOP State Committee. Now, to be fair to these folks, I have 2 numbers in my expensive pill box called plastic container, and the number will tell you who's going first. Stand by.
Okay, good evening to everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Paula Patrick. I am a common pleas court judge in Philadelphia County. I've been on the common pleas court bench. This is my 14th year as a trial judge in Philadelphia. I was elected in 2003. I started out in the juvenile division, then moved to the criminal trial division, into the family division, and currently I'm in the civil trial division, where I listen to all types of cases of medical malpractice, mortgage foreclosures, all civil litigation matters, mass torts, and so forth. Before I became a judge, I was a trial attorney for almost 10 years. And I decided to run for judge in 2003, ran against the Democratic Party, and I won. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Originally, I'm from North Carolina. I'm not from Philadelphia. And I came to Philadelphia when I left law school in 1993, only with the intent to spend a few years there to practice and go back down south to build a practice. My father taught us that when you go to college not to get a job, but to create your own job. So out of law school, unlike the traditional lawyer, I took the road of starting my own practice in Philadelphia. And I built a pretty successful practice, like I said, for almost 10 years. At the time, I was a Democrat in Philadelphia in 2003 when I ran. But the Democratic Party refused to support me. They wouldn't endorse me. They felt I was too conservative. They felt, matter of fact, the rumor on me was that I was Republican, even though I was a Democrat. And they refused to endorse me. So the Republican Party in Philadelphia did endorse me with under Mike Meehan, and I ran, and I beat the Democratic machine in Philadelphia, and I've been on the bench ever since. Now, what else about me? Because I'm born and raised in the South as African American, I was a Democrat. The Democrats kind of like being on reverse certificate. You know, you're black, you're from the South. And so it wasn't until 2009 that I made the decision to begin to evaluate the platforms of the party. And when I did, I found that my views were always more in line with the Republican Party's views than that of the Democratic Party. I was taught, I came from a traditional family. My father served this country honorably in the U.S. Army. My father taught me how to shoot when I was 15 years old, so coming from the South, we all had guns. And so, of course, I'm strong pro Second Amendment. And I can tell you, I never knew guns were a problem until I moved to Philadelphia. But anyway, you know, I've also been endorsed and supported by pro-life groups. And I've always come from conservative values, conservative background. And being black, you don't say you're conservative, you just say who you are, but not conservative. And so then, when I decided to make a switch in 2009, in the middle of my career, I became Republican. Why did I do that? Because even though my party was different, my views were always the same. And I can tell you that I'm proud to stand before you as a Republican, being a part of the party of Lincoln, the party of freedom, and the party of truth. And that's why I'm here. I don't care what anyone says in Philadelphia. Of course, it is one of the most liberal jurisdictions on the planet. But even in Philadelphia, I stand for conservative values. In 2015, I was appointed by the President Judge to serve as a city commissioner, as the city commissioners ran. Also, I'll tell you that I've been rated highly recommended by the Pennsylvania Bar Association. I'm the only candidate that has written over 400 opinions to our 3 appellate courts. I'm the only candidate on this ballot that's from Philadelphia. And why is that important? Well, it's important because Philadelphia is the birthplace of our nation. And I am running as a qualified candidate, as an endorsed candidate, and I'm the only female that's running on the endorsed Republican ticket. So I do ask for your support. I ask for your votes, and we do have a table at the back if you wanted to get some information, additional information about me. We have a website, electjudgepatrick.com. We also have a Facebook. We have all that stuff. Okay? So I guess if you have any questions, I'll take questions.
Good evening. Craig Stedman. I'm the DA of Lancaster County. I'm really fortunate that I'm in a job that I truly love to do. I went to law school to be a prosecutor because I believe that those words that I know you guys believe in, that liberty and justice, they're not just words. They're not just words on a piece of paper. They have to have meaning for our society, to have meaning for us to have the country that our founders, we got the Minuteman up here, fought for. Before I went to law school, the way I got through college was I paid for it by joining the Army. That's the way I believe in public service. I believe in public service, both serving the country through the military, and then through public service, we're trying to protect our families, our children, our most vulnerable people, the senior citizens. As DA, I've been doing that for 25, 26 years, half my life. I never once thought about running for Superior Court or running for judge. Because I love what I do, and I believe in it. But I started to look. And see what was happening, and there were some mentions at the beginning of the program about what we're seeing from our courts, and some of the decisions our courts are making. And I can tell you, firsthand, as DA, who's out there in the front lines, talking to victims, talking to survivor family members, what happens in the real world impact of decisions that judges are making. And it's making it harder and harder for me to protect my county and our community. And there's no better example than the legislatures passed a mandatory sentence for people who rape children. 10 years, you rape a child, you go to jail for a minimum of 10 years. That's what our legislature passed. I think most people would agree with it. But the court struck it down. Just like we saw on the national level, what happened in the Ninth Circuit. Judges matter. Who we elect as judges matter, because that third branch of government, we often forget about the power. the power that no matter who we elect as legislators, no matter who we elect as our executors, our governors, the judges can take it all away with a stroke of a pen. So even though I never thought running about it for the courts, I also looked at the docket of the Superior Court. You got the Supreme Court, you got the Superior Court, you're going to hear about the Commonwealth Court candidates. Well, the Superior Court, which is what I'm running for, 71% of their docket, most of their cases are criminal cases. There's 15 members on the Superior Court, not one elected DA. Most of what they do, they're basically the Criminal Court of Appeals, about 10% family, 12% civil, and then the rest. The bulk of what they do is the Criminal Court of Appeals. Again, we have not one prosecutor on there, not one elected DA. We have a couple people that served in the 1970s and early 80s, but my combined total experience as a prosecutor is more than the total experience of what we're looking at for the Superior Court going forward. So that's why I decided to step in. I stepped in and we're running as a team. I think it's important to emphasize from the top of the ticket with the Supreme Court and then the Superior Court and the Commonwealth. We have to run as a team. We're outnumbered by 900,000 as registered voters. So if we don't run as a team, we run divided, we're going to lose like we've lost in the past. And if we lose this time, the consequences will go on for decades. 7 of the 31 appellate court spots are at stake in November. 7 of 31. Think about the influence that's going to carry going forward. If we don't have the people that understand the role of the judge is to interpret the law and follow the Constitution, not to put their values in and substitute their personal values and their agenda and then use that to reach a conclusion. And the entire team that we have, the other 2 members of the Superior Court, Neil Giordano and Wade Kegerice, we all believe in the same thing. We're all pro-life, we're all pro-Second Amendment. We all know the limited role that judges need to take, and that's so important. I'm humbled and honored to also get the highest recommendation from the Pennsylvania Bar Association. It's very important to have that from your peers. I stand out as the only non-official candidate as a prosecutor on the Superior Court slate to get that. And you're to hear about the Commonwealth Court. But I just can't emphasize enough that we're running as a team. What's also important, I think it's great. Paul is fantastic. He's from Philadelphia. But you know what? We have a ticket that's geographically balanced. Because Pennsylvania is not just Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And yet most of our appellate court spots are Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And you look at the roster, that's it. There's a lot more to Pennsylvania. There's central Pennsylvania and different parts of the state. We've got Tioga County with Sally Mundy, myself here in Lancaster, Wade Kegerice from Blair County, and Giordano from Hampton County. We'll hear about the Commonwealth Court. We have a nice split all over. We need our judge from Philadelphia, absolutely. And we need from Pittsburgh as well. But we're representative of the whole state geographically. And I think that's important. So for me, this is a big sacrifice to run. I never really wanted to leave my job. I absolutely love it. When my son asked me, he's 10 years old, he asked me, well, why are you doing this, Dad? Because I'm out a lot. And I don't see him as much as I'd like to see him. And it really boiled down to me, why am I running? It comes down to 2 words for me. It comes down because we need to be safe and we need to be free. And that's what my candidacy is about, and that's what our whole ticket is really running on. We understand what's at stake, and we're stepping out, and we need your support to carry that through in November. So thank you all very much.
I'm going to need a roving mic person for Q&A. Can I get a volunteer? Or you're going to be the timekeeper here that we don't run over this.
Brian, you gonna do it? I'll take it.
We got one. Okay, now, folks, we're going to have a chair if you like. I'm going to have to give you the microphone when they get the question here. But again, like I said, make it a question and not a speech, but I encourage the questions. You heard what I had to say about the kangaroo. You heard what I had to say about issues that are going to be before the courts. Some of them are on hot buttons. Don't feel timid, not ask the question. And keep in mind, these 2 folks, Stedman and Patrick, showed up. There's 8 other people running for office that didn't show up. Some of those didn't even respond. When you pull the labors, just remember 2 people that were here. Okay, with that in mind, do we have any questions out there that you want to ask the candidates for judge?
No question. There's one in the back.
Good evening. You mentioned mandatory minimum sentencing. Is that a violation of separation of powers?